Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
The Senate passes a budget bill. Medical marijuana reclassified. OpenAI announces its new ChatGPT version, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Donald Trump said Thursday that he ordered the U.S. military to shoot and kill small Iranian boats that lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The order came as Iran tightened control over the waterway and after Iranian forces seized two container ships near the strait and moved them towards Bandar Abbas. About 40 crew members on the seized ships were believed to be safe while governments sought information and their release. The maritime escalation followed the April 19th U.S. seizure of the Iranian-flagged cargo ship Tauska. Brent crude had risen sharply from about $72 to as high as $102 per barrel, as the strait carries roughly 20% of global crude and LNG flows. The U.S. Senate adopted a budget resolution early Thursday after a marathon vote moving forward with a Republican plan to fund Homeland Security immigration agencies. The measure passed 50-48, with Republican Senators Rand Paul and Lisa Murkowski joining all Democrats in opposition. The plan would provide $70 billion for immigration and customs enforcement and Border Patrol over the next 3 years. The broader budget resolution would unlock funding for law enforcement and border security at the Department of Homeland Security through the end of President Donald Trump's term on January 20th, 2029. While the vote does not appropriate the funds, it advances the reconciliation process that Republicans are using to seek immigration enforcement money without Democratic support. The resolution was adopted after roughly 5 hours of amendment votes. The U.S. Department of Justice on Thursday reclassified state-licensed medical marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under federal drug regulations. The change applies specifically to marijuana produced and distributed through state-regulated medical programs. Officials said the reclassification reduces regulatory barriers for research and allows cannabis-related businesses to access federal tax deductions previously denied under Schedule 1 classification. Schedule 3 substances are defined as having accepted medical use and moderate to low potential for dependence. The change does not legalize marijuana at the federal level and does not apply to non-state regulated cannabis. Medical marijuana programs are currently active in 40 U.S. states. Federal officials stated that additional hearings on broader cannabis policy are expected to begin in June. The decision follows ongoing federal review of marijuana's classification and reflects increased recognition of medical use. Businesses operating within state systems may see immediate financial and regulatory impacts from the change. The federal government reached a pricing agreement with Regeneron Pharmaceuticals on Thursday as part of a broader initiative to reduce prescription drug costs. The agreement requires the company to lower Medicaid pricing for certain medications and offer its cholesterol drug for $225 through a direct-to-consumer platform. The arrangement is part of a series of agreements with major pharmaceutical manufacturers aimed at improving affordability. Meta announced plans to eliminate approximately 8,000 jobs, representing about 10% of its workforce, as part of a broader cost restructuring effort. The layoffs are scheduled to begin May 20th. The company stated that the reductions are intended to offset increased spending on artificial intelligence infrastructure and development. Meta projected total expenses between $162 billion and $169 billion for 2026. The spending increase is driven by data center expansion, computing capacity, and specialized personnel. In a related development, Microsoft announced voluntary buyout offers for approximately 8,750 US based employees, or about 7% of its domestic workforce. Both companies are adjusting staffing levels while increasing investment in AI technologies. The announcements reflect a broader trend across the technology sector where companies are reallocating resources towards artificial intelligence initiatives. The workforce reductions are concentrated in non AI divisions, while hiring continues in technical roles related to machine learning, data infrastructure, and software engineering. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders voted overwhelmingly yesterday in favor of the Paramount Skydance buyout, which is valued at $111 billion and would transform the film industry. It puts David Ellison's Paramount Skydance one step closer to owning the storied studio, despite opposition from Hollywood stars and Democratic politicians after a messy bidding process. Antitrust regulators must still bless the deal before it can be finalized. OpenAI just announced its new GPT 5.5 model, which the company calls its smartest and most intuitive to use model yet, and the next step toward a new way of getting work done on a computer. OpenAI just released GPT 5.4 last month, but says the new GPT 5.5 excels at tasks like writing and debugging code, doing research online, making spreadsheets and documents, and doing that work across different tools. Instead of carefully managing every step, you can give GPT 5.5 a messy multi-part task and trust it to plan, use tools, check its work, navigate through ambiguity, and keep going, according to OpenAI. That's the Raw Naked Truth for April 24th, 2026. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.